Hey guys, welcome to Critical Beauty. As some of you already probably know, on October 10, 2025, the Miss Universe organization filed a lawsuit against Laylah Rose saying that she mismanaged Miss USA and Miss Teen USA, created a toxic work environment, and failed to pay the 2024 winners $100,000 salary. The lawsuit was filed just weeks after it was announced that Laylah was out as the CEO of Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. However, 10 days later, VVV Global Enterprise, Laylah's company, filed a counter lawsuit against JKN Universe and its owner, and Jakrajutatip, and against Legacy Holding and its owner, Raul Rocha Cantú. Additionally, Laylah is also suing BDE Miss USA and its owner, Thom Brodeur, who recently replaced Laylah as the new president and CEO of Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. The case was filed on October 20th, 2025 at the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, and presided by Judge Louis J. Lyman. It was filed in New York because, believe it or not, the Miss Universe organization is still an American company and therefore is subject to U.S. laws. As you can see, the cover page of the document mentions VVV Global Enterprise, Laylah's company, as the counterclaim plaintiff slash third-party plaintiff. JKN Universe LLC, doing business as the Miss Universe organization co-owned by Anne, as the counterclaim defendant, and Legacy Holding Group USA, owned by Raul Rocha Cantú, and BDE Miss USA, owned by Thom Brodeur, as third-party defendants. It also says jury trial demanded, which means that a formal request is made by a party in a legal case to have their case decided by a jury rather than a judge. So this demand allows the party to choose a jury or fellow citizens to weigh the evidence and reach a verdict rather than relying solely on a judge's decision. It is also likely that the individuals who have worked with Laylah will probably be summoned to appear in court to give their testimonies. So I was able to access the entire court docket, which is 439 pages long. It features Laylah's counterclaims against each allegation made by JKN, mainly Laylah's alleged mismanagement, as well as allegations made by Miss USA 2023 Noelia Voigt, who resigned from her position, and by Miss USA 2024 Alma Cooper. Laylah claims that it is JKN who breached the agreement, sometimes bypassing her authority by directly communicating with the state directors, and that the claims made by Noelia or Alma are baseless. The court docket also includes screenshots of text messages between Laylah and Anne, between Laylah and former MEO CEO Amy Emmerich, copies of correspondences via email, and letters between Laylah, her lawyers, and MEO executives, a copy of Laylah's long letter to Noelia Voigt denying Noelia's charges against Laylah, and much, much more. You can see them as exhibits following the counterclaims. Laylah also alleges that JKN and Legacy have tarnished the Miss USA brand by depriving Miss USA of operating funds, interfering with VVV's ability to manage Miss USA as it was contracted to do, and disparaging the results of JKN's own actions. In the process, JKN, Legacy's owner Cantú, and Brodeur, a pageant coach who has long held the designs on taking over Miss USA and who has proven willing to wage a campaign of baseless public disparagement against anyone who stands in his way, have caused great financial and reputational injury to VVV, which VVV now seeks to remedy. So because the court document is 439 pages long, it would be exhausting for me to discuss every detail. But you can read the entire document yourself in the link that I provide in the description box below. What I would like to discuss are the 11 counts or 11 charges against JKN. I will post the counts as they are written in the court document and then summarize each count in simple English for everyone to understand. Count 1, breach of contract, management agreement. VVV claims that JKN violated their management agreement, which was a valid and binding contract. VVV says it fulfilled its duties, but JKN failed to meet its obligations in several ways, including not completing regulatory approvals, not signing the promised 12-year license agreement, interfering with VVV's ability to manage the business, failing to pay profits and collect fees, and not providing indemnification as required. Now, because of these breaches, VVV says it has suffered over $75,000 in damages, including lost profits of at least $160 million and public relations costs. VVV also seeks reimbursement for attorney fees totaling several $100,000 and asks the court to issue an injunction preventing JKN from transferring or renewing the pageant license, as well as to order specific performance, meaning JKN must honor its promise to give VVV the 12-year license agreement. Count 2, breach of contract settlement agreement. VVV says that JKN broke their settlement agreement, which was a valid and binding contract. VVV claims it followed all its obligations, but JKN failed to do the same. Now, according to VVV, JKN breached the agreement in several ways, including refusing to finalize and sign the promised 12-year license agreement, trying to replace it with a 1-year license, not returning $1.5 million paid by VVV, ignoring agreed communication procedures, dealing directly with state directors and title holders without VVV's consent, misrepresenting sponsorship revenues, and failing to comply with franchise and business laws. JKN also allegedly spoke negatively about VVV, harming its reputation and goodwill. So because of these breaches, VVV says it suffered more than $75,000 in damages, including lost profits of at least $160 million in public relations expenses. VVV also seeks reimbursement for attorney fees and asks the court to issue an injunction preventing JKN from transferring or renewing the pageant license and to order specific performance requiring JKN deliver the promised 12-year license agreement. Count 3, breach of the implied duty of good faith and fair dealing. VVV claims that JKN acted in bad faith and with dishonest intentions under both the management agreement and the settlement agreement. According to VVV, every contract includes an implied promise that both sides will act fairly and not do anything to destroy the other's right to benefit from the deal. VVV says JKN violated the duty by acting deceptively, evading its responsibilities and preventing VVV from receiving what it was promised in their agreements. As a result, VVV says it has suffered financial damages as described in the earlier counts. Count 4, promissory estoppel. Promissory estoppel is a legal principle that protects someone who reasonably relies on a promise, even if no formal contract exists. Here's a simple explanation. So if one party, the promisor, makes a clear promise to another party, the promisee, and the promisee relies on that promise, for example, by spending money, making commitments, or changing their situation, and then the promisor breaks the promise, the law may step in to prevent unfair harm. So promissory estoppel allows the harmed party to recover losses or sometimes force the other side to honor the promise, even though a formal contract was never completed. VVV says that JKN clearly promised to give it a 12-year license agreement to operate the pageants. VVV relied on that promise and took costly actions because it believed that JKN would keep its word. This included paying JKN $1.5 million as a deposit, another $375,000 installment, taking on debt, covering business expenses, and even having VVV's owner and her spouse personally guarantee certain obligations. Since JKN broke its promise, VVV says it suffered financial harm of more than $75,000, with the exact amount to be decided at court. Count 5, unjust enrichment against JKN and legacy. VVV claims that JKN and Legacy, as the owners of Miss Universe, benefited unfairly at VVV's expense. VVV says it paid large sums of money, including a $1.5 million down payment, a $375,000 installment, and at least $4.16 million more to support the pageants and cover their debts, which improved the value and reputation of the Miss Universe brand. VVV argues it would be unfair for JKN and Legacy to keep these benefits without repayment. So VVV seeks damages of more than $75,000 with a final amount to be decided at trial. Count 6. Tortious interference with business relationship and expectancy. Tortious interference, also called interference with contract or interference with business relations, is a legal term that means someone intentionally damaged another person's business or contract relationship. So here's a simple explanation. If two parties have a business agreement or ongoing relationship, and a third party deliberately does something to break that relationship or cause one side to breach the contract, that third party can be held legally responsible for tortious interference. But to prove that tortious interference exists, one usually must show a valid contract or business relationship, the third party knew about that relationship, the third party intentionally interfered with it without a good reason, and the interference caused harm like losing money or opportunities. Example, if Company A, VVV, and Company B, JKN, have a deal, and Company C, Legacy, Cantú, BDE, and Brodeur collectively, convinces Company B, JKN, to break the deal and work with them instead, knowing that it will hurt Company A, VVV, then Company C, Legacy, Cantú, BDE, and Brodeur, could be sued for tortious interference. VVV says that Legacy, Cantú, BDE, and Brodeur knowingly and wrongfully interfered with his business deal with JKN. According to VVV, JKN had promised to give VVV a 12-year license agreement to run the pageants. The other parties knew about this agreement but intentionally caused JKN to break it by instead giving or accepting a 10-year license with BDE. VVV claims this interference destroyed its business opportunity and caused financial harm, including lost revenue from the 12-year deal. It seeks more than $75,000 in damages, with a final amount to be decided at trial. Count 7. Civil conspiracy. VVV claims that JKN, Legacy, Cantú, BDE, and Brodeur worked together in a conspiracy to harm VVV and take over its business interests in the pageants. According to VVV, these parties agreed to act unlawfully or use unfair methods to interfere with VVV's contracts and business relationships. After Legacy and Cantú got involved with Miss Universe, they allegedly teamed up with JKN to use VVV's money, work, and business ideas, then cut VVV out of the organization. VVV says that BDE and Brodeur joined the plan to get the long-term license that had originally been promised to VVV. Together, the group allegedly spread false information to contestants, state directors, and the public, claiming VVV created a toxic environment to damage VVV's reputation and take control of the pageant business. VVV claims these actions caused financial and reputational harm and seeks more than $75,000 in damages, with the final amount to be decided at trial. Count 8. Violation of the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. VVV says that JKN, Legacy, and Cantú violated Florida's law against deceptive and unfair business practices. According to VVV, these parties misled it into signing the management agreement and settlement agreement by falsely promising a 12-year license agreement. Believing that promise, VVV invested millions of dollars into the Miss USA organization. Later, JKN, Legacy, and Cantú allegedly spread false stories about VVV, claiming poor management and a toxic environment to damage its reputation and take away its money, goodwill, and business opportunities. VVV says it suffered financial losses and harm to its reputation because of these deceptive actions. It seeks more than $75,000 in damages, a court order declaring the actions unlawful, an injunction to stop the unfair practices, and payment of its attorney fees and costs. Count 9, fraudulent inducement against JKN. VVV claims that JKN lied to persuade it to sign the settlement agreement. According to VVV, JKN falsely promised that it would give VVV a 12-year license agreement to run the pageants and would follow the rules of engagement included in the agreement. VVV later discovered these statements were untrue. VVV says JKN never intended to keep its promise, as shown by its secret talks with Brodeur, its bankruptcy filing, its demand for extra money, its termination of the management agreement, and its later deal with BDE and Brodeur. Now, because of these false promises, VVV says it spent money, took on obligations, and gave up legal rights, all to its harm. VVV claims that JKN acted intentionally and deceitfully and seeks over $75,000 in damages, with the exact amount to be decided at trial. Count 10, declaratory judgment. VVV asks the court to officially declare that JKN had no valid reason to end the management agreement. JKN claimed it would terminate the agreement because VVV allegedly acted in a way that offended or shocked the public, but VVV denies doing anything wrong. VVV says the management agreement was never properly terminated, and even if it was, JKN is still required to give VVV the promised 12-year license agreement. VVV therefore wants the court to formally rule that JKN's termination was invalid and that JKN must honor its licensing obligation. And lastly, count 11, injunctive relief. VVV is asking the court to issue an injunction, a court order, to stop JKN and others from transferring or renewing the Miss USA license while the lawsuit is ongoing. VVV believes it will win the case because JKN broke its promise to give VVV a 12-year license agreement. Without the injunction, VVV says it will suffer serious, irreparable harm, including financial collapse and loss of its only business running the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pageants. VVV also argues that money alone cannot fix the damage since the license is a unique and valuable opportunity. JKN's finances are unstable, so even if VVV wins later, JKN might not be able to pay the damages. The injunction would serve the public interest by upholding contracts and protecting the Miss USA brand's reputation. It would not harm anyone else since BDE, the new licensee, knowingly interfered with VVV's rights. VVV therefore asks the court to issue temporary and permanent injunctions to preserve the situation until the case is resolved. Now that I've summarized all 11 counts in plain English, this brings us to what VVV is asking the court as stated in the wherefore or requested relief section. VVV is asking the court to grant the following. Number 1, money damages for JKN's breach of contract, the amount to be decided at trial. Number 2, money damages for the wrongful acts or torts committed by the defendants. Number 3, restitution, repayment of any money or benefits JKN unfairly gained. Number 4, permanent and temporary injunctions to stop any further transfer or renewal of the Miss USA license. Number 5, a temporary court order to stop JKN or others from appointing new state directors, changing Miss USA's structure, or issuing franchise documents through BDE while the case continues. Number 6, a court order forcing JKN to give VVV the promised 12-year license agreement. Number 7, payment for VVV's legal fees, court costs, and interest. And number 8, any other fair or appropriate remedies the court finds just. And there you have it, the 11 counts or charges filed by Laylah Rose against JKN Universe, owned by Jakrajutatip, Legacy Holding, owned by Raul Rocha Cantú, and BDE Miss USA, owned by Thom Brodeur. I made this vlog because I feel that it is important for my viewers to see the court documents themselves and to think critically and objectively for themselves before making any judgment as to whether they believe Laylah's claims or not. Thank you for watching, guys. Until the next time.